Welcome to Godtalk. I'm Ray Lyle and I'm with Pastor Glenn. Today we will be interviewing out of Thunder Bay a professional kickboxer, martial arts teacher, and miracle survivor. He has an amazing and intriguing story that through his struggles how he had been exposed to the dark side of the supernatural and yet found his way to Christ. Right here on Godtalk. And this is Ray, and I'm with Pastor Glenn for the God Talk podcast of the week. Sometimes that's hard to say, but anyway, we have a special guest today. Glenn, this is somebody that I've known for, got to be over 30 years now. And when our band was playing up at Thunder Bay, he came out to see us, and we started talking. He was a martial artist, and we started talking martial arts, and he was invited me to his club. I was a wannabe martial artist. I was kind of dib-dabbling around with the stuff, and he brought me out to the club and showed me some stuff that just kind of blew my mind, because I grew up a big fan of Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was my hero, and this guy had trained with one of Bruce Lee's friends and taught me a lot of stuff that I wish I'd learned when I was a kid. So it kind of knocked my socks off, blew my mind. And then we ended up becoming very, very good friends for the last 30 years. And he has had some incredible things happen to him. He's been a Christian now for how long, Mitz?
Been a Christian. I actually got probably since 2016.
Yeah.
I became a Christian, but I was Catholic since birth.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And but anyway, I got to formally introduce you now. Everybody, this is Mitz Bandiera, and Glenn, this is the first time meeting him. So this is Pastor Glenn.
Yes. Mitz, great to meet you.
Yes.
One day maybe we can meet live in person.
I hope so.
But this works especially in a snowstorm.
Absolutely.
And in Thunder Bay, that's every day.
It's actually 30 below last night. So yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Cold front coming in.
Yeah.
You came to martial arts through, I guess you were bullied as a kid.
Yes.
And that's a lot of that's one of the reasons I started as well. So, but
Wow.
So give us a little bit of rundown on that.
Sure. Like when I was younger, my parents, of course, are Italian. We spoke Italian. They wanted to move back to Italy, and we did for a couple of years. My brother and I spent 2.5 years there, so we actually became Canadian or Italian citizens and spoke, and we went to school and all that stuff. And then we came back to Canada, of course. Coming back to Canada, I couldn't speak English, and that's where all the bullying and stuff started. You're not from this country, and you're Italian, blah, 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 and went through school, and everybody was on the street. You weren't, like, it's almost like you were alienated because you're from a different country. And actually, I was born and raised here in Thunder Bay, or Canada, but ended up going to Italy. So that's kind of what brought it on. And from there, it just manifested into me protecting myself and learning how to protect myself. And then that's where the martial arts kind of gate came in. Yeah.
How old were you when you started training?
I started actually training when I was 13. I took judo first, of course, but before that I was into a lot of street stuff and fighting and in kind of like street groups, gangs, whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
And I was involved in some of that stuff. But then it just came to me, actually, believe it or not, I went to watch Enter the Dragon.
We all did.
Yes, we did.
Hey.
And I'm a big Bruce Lee fan as well. And it's a time when you could actually sit in a theater and watch it back to back. Like there's a 7:00 show and then there's a 9:00 show.
Yep.
And I was with the people that I was with, and I just was mesmerized by that. And I stayed for the second showing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you made it through all that wonderful lip syncing, like
Yes.
Actually, Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee actually spoke.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the first movie and
Correct.
the only movie.
Yes.
Mitz, what I find really interesting and really encouraging about your story, and I'm looking forward to you touching on it more. There are so many young boys and girls, but who have experienced the pain of bullying, and that's a real much more common than what we realize, and the lifelong effects of that.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to hear your story of how through your faith journey, your encounter with Jesus Christ, how that you were able to deal with the pain of that. And it looks like you, as you mentioned, you look at martial arts, you looked at kickboxing as a way of dealing with that childhood pain, and then the process throughout the time, and then eventually you encounter the actual ultimate healer for that. And looking forward to hearing that story.
Yes, and what comes from, looking back from now until back then when I was younger and going through that bullying stuff and all that, what the grace for me was that because I was in Italy and I was abandoned because my parents went there for vacation, and just to kind of fill you in on that, Glenn, I'm not sure if Ray has, but we left, my brother and I were left there with relatives and stuff, and I was only 6 years old.
Wow.
And we were
That's
up there for 2.5 years, and then we came back. And the thing about it is, to me, without talking to my brother's 3 years older than me, so he kind of was coherent about what was going on. And what I learned about myself is that I was kind of in a shell. I was shocked. At that age, I was shocked to be abandoned, and I did not know what happened and where they're going to go. I was with relatives, but again, I did not know these people. They were my mother's cousins or something like that, and that's where I stayed with. And then I saw my brother like maybe a couple times for Christmas because he was in a different location in Italy. He went to a nuns commune. I went to Marina di Ravenna, which is ocean on the east side. But I went to school there, and we came together. But what I noticed about myself is that I was in shock. Nothing, I was bouncing things off me. Like when things came in, it didn't really make a difference to me. I was covered in this shock shell. And that's what, through the grace, got me through the bullying and all that stuff too. I'm not saying that I'm a superhero or anything like that by any means, but what protected me, my heart, and myself is that shell that I built around myself because of my parents being gone.
You would have a hard time trusting after that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. The trust came into play with most of my life there too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And with that, I found, getting bullied and stuff like that. Like I'm not saying that I didn't get bullied, but I found the resistance to the name calling and the pushing and the fighting and all that stuff. There was something inside me that kept me survival mode, that kept me into being able to deal with this kind of stuff. And yeah, I've cried and I've gotten bleeding noses and all that kind of fun stuff too. But there's something inside me that was bigger than me, bigger than me. And I felt it even back then. And yet there was this shell around me.
I know myself, and I've heard this from other people too, that joining martial arts is not just something that you learn to defend yourself, but there's a brotherhood that happens with the people that you learn, especially from people like you who have had a hard time trusting after a traumatic experience. They all of a sudden, when they join a martial arts club, there's a brotherhood of trust that they never had before.
Yes.
And it leads into, more confidence but now you're trusting in a brotherhood, right?
Correct. Yeah. And that's like what it came to me is there are people that are better than me. And like the martial arts, for example, I was a complete beginner. I had no idea what I was doing, but then it becomes like a brotherhood, like a family.
Right.
And I really didn't have that in my life here because of, my parents were still here when I came back, and I had brothers and sisters, but there's a community of people doing the same thing that I want to go to in the same direction. And there was a whole love that transpired, and you know, friends, and then the trusting part came in. You know, I can trust these people, and then some people left, of course, and I went through the abandonment with that too a little bit. So it was relearning how to deal with the abandonment, how to deal with a group of people who are going in the same direction, not necessarily Christian,
Mhm.
you know, but in the same direction in the physical parts, being able to manifest that. Yeah, for sure.
It's almost as if it sounds like today we would quite possibly categorize what you went through, the shock of a 6-year-old being abandoned and then the subsequent bullying and so on, almost like PTSD, you know, the post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Yes. Yeah, and I know a lot of that stuff nowadays has names.
Yeah.
But back then it didn't. And
Yeah.
you know, I just kind of manifested it through that because I'm looking back at it in the moment in time when it happened. I was just an ordinary kid, you know, who would have this thing around him, and I was from a different country, and I went through this morphus. But looking back at it, it was definitely a grace of God that brought me through that, because I could have totally went the other direction
Right.
and not been here. But
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I know of people who went through the horrific experience in a young age of being feeling rejected, abandoned, bullied, and so on. And then later on in life, to deal with that pain and that they get involved in destructive behaviors like
correct.
substance abuse and so on.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so,
Mhm.
Yeah, and I realize that too, because I've in my life journey, I've had lots of psychologists, worked with a lot of programs, and you know, and then just trying to heal myself, like Band-Aid here, Band-Aid there, Band-Aid here,
Mhm.
Band-Aid there. And then when it came to Christ, you know, realizing that I got to go back to the church, and I got to go back to the religion,
Mhm.
it just blew my mind
Mhm.
that was what was missing.
Well, it's funny because I've known you now what, over 30 years. I can clearly see how God has worked in your life
Oh
through
yeah,
those 30 years. Like I can see it so
yes,
clearly, right? But you also had a brush with the supernatural. I mean,
yes.
that wasn't God, and I think that was a learning experience, and I think God allowed you to go through that. It happened in Thailand, right?
Yes,
And can you tell us a bit of that story?
sure. Yeah, like I went to Thailand to train to do the Thai boxing, because one of my Thai boxing coaches is from here. So I went there for 3 months. Went to Lanam Muay Thai, which is in Chiang Mai, which is north of Bangkok, and it was in a Thai camp, training Thai camp. So there, I was there for the time during, and it was just learning how to fight, learning how to compete, and all that kind of stuff to learn the arts. And everybody had tattoos on them. In Thailand, everybody tattoo, 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 and I had no tattoos whatsoever. And in the training camp there, I got kind of, I don't know that it was inspired. I just wanted to get a tattoo for whatever reason. People were getting tattoos, so I got a tattoo. And I went up to a monk in a temple, and it was up on the hill, and he had an altar there, which is full of stuff that I it's not Christian. And now knowing that, before, of course, I was naive to all that. And he started this tattoo, and he did it the old traditional style with the needle and the ink, boom, 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 on the back. And
I
it took,
must have hurt.
oh yeah, like the first jab, and then you know he's like 2 hours into it, and he's like, "Oh, you done yet?" Goes, no, 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 go for a washroom and then come back. So, so another boom, boom, boom,
Oh
and
man.
then, but I did not know.
isn't that the first lesson that he was giving you of how to deal with that uh, sharp pain?
Yeah,
Isn't that?
yeah, I had no idea that that's what it was going to feel like. So when he's done this tattoo, he's smoking marijuana, and he's, you know, doing all this kind of stuff. And I did not know what he put on there. He called it Hanuman, which is one of the Hindu gods. It's a monkey god, and he put it on my right shoulder on the scapula there, and so on and so forth. Now, in the competition, because I fought once or whatever, and I was fighting, and I was getting beat up, of course, in the first round or whatever too. And the
Now,
guy,
they put you with a seasoned Thai boxer, right?
yeah,
I
they
mean,
always
you just
are.
wanted to get your
Wow.
feet wet in a
Yeah.
competition, and they put you up against like a seasoned Thai boxer.
Yeah, they're all seasoned, but again,
Yeah.
it's my own naivety. Like I didn't
Yeah.
know, like he's whatever, he's retired or whatever. But he had like 100 or something. I don't even know the amount of fights, but that's normal for Thai boxers.
Uh-huh.
And I was in there with him and battling and getting beat up, and then come back to the corner, and the guy, one of the trainers, puts his hand on my shoulder where the tattoo is, and all of a sudden I felt this electric energy come through my body, and everything just kind of stopped. And I went in there, and the next round, I could just see everything coming. It was like it was slow motion. And I ended up just everything I threw hit, everything he threw missed. And it was just amazing. And then after that match, because I was, when they bet, they always bet on fights, of course they do. And I was the lesser of the bets, of course, 99-1. And then I ended up walking out there because I was scared, because everybody was losing their money because the match, and then I just walked away, and I didn't know what it was, totally, supernatural or whatever you want to call it, but it wasn't God.
Yeah.
Now I know that.
And people losing money in Thailand over a fighter is not good, right?
No.
Right.
Especially a Ferengi like me, which is a foreigner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, that was then. And the interesting thing, as I'm speaking this, Ray, I was just thinking about it and as I get into the accident and stuff like that, I'll tell you some more about what this tattoo is. So, and yeah, so that's kind of what happened in Thailand. And then I came back, and the tattoo was on my back for years and years and years, and never knowing what it is. But then a revelation came. Yeah.
And what was the revelation that you had?
As I'm speaking, Ray, I'm thinking about the accident that I had.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because that's crucial. I mean, you're actually a miracle survivor, and
Yes.
that's one of the main topics we want to discuss on this interview, is because God's hand was all over that one.
Absolutely.
But so tell the story about this. I know you were headed to the States to either to fight or to corner some of your fighters, but you go from there.
Yes, I was actually heading to Iowa from Thunder Bay, and I was going to go to corner two of my fighters in Iowa for their kickboxing. I was going to go.
Now
corner.
that means if corner means that your students are fighting and you're in their corner.
Yeah, I'm their coach.
Okay, yeah, for us people
Gotcha.
who have no idea about kickboxing.
Yeah, no problem.
I was thinking, are you going to corner your students somehow? Well,
yeah, so
thank you.
Yeah, I'm the guy in the corner, like you see in boxing. They got the corner people, mouth guard and stuff like that too. But I'm the one for them, and I actually did coach them here, and they went ahead to before I did, and I went on my motorcycle, knowing that I was going to meet up with two of my friends. They actually set me off here. One of them's a doctor who also rides a motorcycle, and the other one's a friend of mine, Wayne. That we were going to meet in Iowa, and then we're going to ride to Sturgis, South Dakota, where the big bike rally is that I've gone to a few times. That was the intention of the trip. So I set off at 7:30 in the morning, and again, all of this is, I do not know this because of the accident. I'm just telling you this because of what they told me, just so I'm speaking in that terms. And as I'm riding to Minnesota, towards Iowa, I do remember this one thing: stopping at a Subway, which is sandwiches, and pulling in there because I was lunchtime probably, and I got a sandwich, and I was sitting there, and there was this little, a younger fellow and his mom sitting there in a pew, and he was looking at my bike, and we happened to go out at the same time. So he wanted to sit on the bike, said, yeah, go ahead, sit on the bike. And he was a happy guy, and then off he went. I do remember that. I don't know for what reason, but anyway. So I'm riding I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota, just outside St. Paul, Minnesota, on my motorcycle. The weather was really, really hot. In Minnesota, you don't have to wear helmets. And one of the first times, maybe it was one of the first times that I just took my helmet off for whatever reason. And it was hot. And I had a bandana on and all that kind of stuff too, of course, because I have no hair. And I was riding there. And as I was riding just outside of St. Paul on 35E, which is a highway where you're 65 miles an hour, 70, whatever is the speed limits. And I was riding on the motorcycle, and I'm on the right front kind of area of the car. So I'm in position where visibly everything I'm seeing, right? And the car suddenly turns into me. No signal, no nothing. Takes out the bike, squashes. And again, what I heard from my brother, because I was just talking to him before I was talking to Ray, is that I actually stood up on the seat of the motorcycle.
That's crazy.
And hung on to the throttle, of course, because the bike was getting squished into the wall that was on the highway there. And the front,
concrete barrier.
Like a concrete barrier, exactly. A big, tall one. We're talking like 14, 16 feet. We're not talking something small to prevent the sound of the cars from going into the residential area. So we're talking huge walls. Wow. And as it went in there, the front tire caught on a culvert, and I launched off the bike. I flew off the bike, and I rolled onto the highway and landed there. The police officer who was behind the car, 2 cars back, saw the whole thing.
There's a God thing.
There's a God thing, exactly. Through the grace of God.
So what you're saying is driving a motorcycle is much more dangerous than boxing.
Absolutely. I know that to a fact. I know that to a fact. And
that's incredible. That's incredible what you went through there.
Yeah. And then the police officer himself was also a motorcyclist as well.
Wow.
Not in the car, but he rode a motorcycle himself, and he was in an accident too, not anywhere near this one, but he was in an accident too. And he come up and he lights flashing, of course, and he saw that I was on the pavement, blood everywhere, head split open. Whoa. And he went right to the woman and rolled down the window, like, he's blasting her. Like, how? She didn't signal. She didn't do anything.
Oh, she was probably texting on her cell phone.
Oh, I have no idea what he was doing, but he was like laying into her, and I was on the pavement, right? And then he pulled out one of those blankets that they have in police cars and just laid it on top, because I was dead. I was gone. I was not coming back. And he went back to the woman here, and he started, whatever he was doing, just talking to her. And he kept looking. He would look back once in a while, and the blanket was going like this. Again, he thought the first time, it's the traffic, right? So the traffic was stopped, but there's also traffic on the other side. So he figures the wind or whatever, right? And he looks again, and it's going like this. So he comes over, takes my pulse. He goes, he's alive. So he called the ambulance, and the ambulance got there like in about 11 minutes. And they took me to the regional in St. Paul, Minnesota. And in that 24-hour period, they had in their own minds that I was not going to live. I was not going to wake. I was not going to make it to the morning. There's no possible way this was going to happen. And I can only know this and then my brother gets the call. My brother's in Toronto. So he gets the call. He calls my parents, can you go to St. Paul? And St. Paul is about 7 hours from here driving. So they said, well, we can't go. But they were in shock. So he flies up, and in the morning, so that would be Saturday morning, they drive to St. Paul, regional, to the hospital. They come in the room, and here I am sitting up in the bed, because they have those beds, of course, like this. My head is like this. My whole side of the head is like this eye bone is busted in, and there's a patch on my shoulder. It burns all over the place, nose over here, and like burns all over the place. And my parents are just in shock. My parents and my brother starts asking, like, what happened? And everybody, everybody was on their what they're doing, their game, and everything like that. So I was well taken care of. But again, he was told that I might not make it. I might not make it. I might not make it, because it was hours had passed, of course, since that time, but things were functioning back. And I spent 10 days there in the regional, and then they flew me back to Thunder Bay.
Now, as far as they were concerned, you were going to be a quadriplegic, right?
Correct.
That you had no feeling from your neck down.
Yeah, and was the thing about that my brother said too, that I was actually walking to the washroom with their help. Now, I don't know if my legs were lifted up, or I have no idea what they were doing, but I was walking to the washroom and coming back because I had to go. They didn't have me on one of those, whatever they're called, so I was walking to the washroom and coming back, but I had these socks on. I don't even know what kind of socks they were, so my feet wouldn't swell. I don't even know.
That must have been after a bit, though, if they thought you were quadriplegic. And how can you walk to the washroom?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and the time frame of that, I don't know. I'd have to check on that, but yeah.
Because I remember you telling me a while ago when shortly after, well, I guess 2 years after this happened, because I remember meeting you in Toronto, and you were saying that the nurse actually did a nerve test on your foot, and you moved. You went ow or something, and she just about lost her mind, because she went, this guy's feeling stuff, like things started coming back.
Yeah, they did, and again, I don't know whether that was my own self. Was it in the regional, or if it was in here? I don't know that, because again, time just stopped, and then even when I came back to Thunder Bay here in the hospital, I was there for 3 months, and I remember bits and pieces of it, but again, I do not remember the whole thing. So,
well, one thing's for sure is God definitely brought you out of a catastrophic situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then the therapist even was just blown away by my recovery, in the process of recovery. And when I came from the accident, I couldn't speak, read, or write. I didn't know who anybody was. I had to learn all that stuff all over again.
Yeah.
And it just came back. I spoke Italian, of course, first, because that was dominant. But again, I didn't know how to speak. I didn't know who my parents were. I didn't know my brother. Didn't know anything.
Did you ever think, after you came out of that, like, wow, somebody must have been looking after me?
I did a couple of years after that, when I started to come back to God. And God never really left me, even as a Catholic. And then in times when I was down, I just prayed to God, whoever this God was. But then as I got baptized and rebaptized again in the Christian, and just refound that's what it was. And now looking back, there is no doubt in my mind that God was there, that every bit and piece of it. It was not my time to go home.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah, for sure.
So what actually brought you to be baptized again, or brought you into the Christian faith?
I live in an area where there's I had 2 Jack Russells, of course, and I'd walk them a couple times a day. And I have a walking path that's around kind of a golf course. And then as you come over the bridge, there's the church. There's the Redwood Church. It's an old school turned into a church. And I'd walk by it, every once in a while. And then that one particular day, I was walking the JRs, the Jack Russells, and I was walking over that bridge, and that church just caught my eye. I just looked at it, and then I got word like I should go back to church. So that was whatever day it was, I don't remember, but I came back. So it was a Sunday, and I called them up, and what times, and they were never 9. So I go 9 because I'm an early person. And I go in there, and I walk into the church, and I go near the front. And as the band starts playing, I felt something, and then I just felt I was crying for the whole session. I was just almost electrified.
Wow.
And I did not know what was going on here. So I just kind of left, and, I stayed for the service, of course, and I left, and I came like, what's happening? And then again, the next Sunday, I went back and the same thing happened. The same thing happened. I was in tears, and I just felt this huge energy beyond anything that I could ever possibly imagine. And it continued on. And then, of course, the crying slowly went away, but I felt the presence of God in each session. And that's totally what it was. And as I grew into the church, I became like one of the ushers, and doing stuff for the church. And then in the band members, they heard about this accident thing that I had. And they made a little clip of it. It's Westport Productions made a little clip of the accident. Of course, it was all mocked and played, but they actually couldn't believe what I was telling them. But it's true. The accident is true. Yeah.
So when a master martial artist meets the Almighty God, there's no competition.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. Zero. Beg for mercy. Yeah, it was quite a journey in that sense, and like it just brought me like, and now I'm in a place where I get up in the morning, and I'm on my knees praying every single morning. I'm praying, praying. It's a lifestyle now for me. It's a habit, and it's just filled with it.
What an amazing story. Pastor Glenn, what do you think?
Yeah. I'm just thinking of your incredible story and your journey.
Mm.
I So when you were in that church service, what were in the presence of God and the Holy Spirit? But what did it make you feel like when you were there amongst within that congregation, within that group of people?
I would describe it like when I first went into the martial arts, I was kind of like I didn't know what I was doing, but then each time there was people, like became friends and stuff like that. Well, the same with the church here. Like I did not know what was happening to me, that I was getting filled with this. And then all of a sudden I knew one person, and then I knew another person. And then so it became like a family oriented. And then all of a sudden members of the band that were playing really good, they said they had a film studio, and then I was talking to one of them, and then they heard about the accident, and then all of a sudden they want to film it, and it became this huge thing, and it just grew, and I just felt like part of that family of God and the church. And as it grew up, I just felt like I belonged there.
So it was like coming home, right?
Home.
You were searching for that home all your life.
Yes.
And so what are some of the other, looking back and the incredible, it to me, when I hear your story,
Yeah.
so you had this traumatic experience at a younger age starting at age 6, and then going through the process of feeling abandoned as a young child, and then getting bullied, and then getting involved into finding a family in kickboxing or in the martial arts community, and then you allowing that to bring some healing, and then going through growing up in that, expanding on that, becoming a kickboxer and having bouts, and having that when you were in Thailand, that incredible experience of a shaman putting his hand on your tattoo.
Yeah.
And then so you're looking for healing from that pain, and then eventually later on, and after that incredible experience of being like dead on the road from the motorcycle accident,
Yeah.
and then eventually culminating into walking into that church and finding again healing from that pain, that encounter with the living Christ, the living
Yes.
Jesus. And so what would you say are the things that you have learned in that incredible journey that God had put you on? And as you said, he'd always been with you
Yeah.
in terms of guiding you through those days.
Mhm.
What are some of the things you've learned?
I would say, looking back, as you're talking there, Glenn, I was saying looking back, and I wanted to reiterate about this tattoo on my back too, because I did get it burned off. It's now no longer there.
So you got the monkey off your back.
Yes, I got the monkey off my back. Exactly. It's well done.
Yeah.
And as you were speaking, I was speaking to Ray back there. What the revelation I had is, did you know that in the accident, that scapula got dislocated exactly where the tattoo is?
Really?
I just realized this just as we were talking. Wow.
Mm.
And now getting it burnt off is almost twice as painful as getting it put on, because the first it's just like, whoa, this really hurts. And said, well, it's gonna hurt. And she said like 13 or 14 sessions of this, but it's completely off now. And when I look back over my life and what I was given as a direction, like with the martial arts and teaching and stuff like that, in and of that, it brought me out of my shell that I was in from the traumatic thing that happened in Italy, the abandonment and all that stuff too. Some, partially, not all the way. But it also gave me a way that I could do something that helps people, and they become like family to me. And I still have friends, and a lot of them actually married each other because they found each other in my gym.
Wow.
And they're still married. And a lot of them police officers, things like that. And I have a family here or brothers or whatever you want to call them, and my own self, and looking back at it like that. But what I use is the martial arts for me is a lot of things learned from there, like the family, the building the family. Like, how do you practice? Well, you can kick. Some people come in and they can only do like a kick or something, or they can't kick, but I can teach them how to kick. It's repetition of the same thing. Things like that apply to Christianity too. Repetition of prayer, repetition, and it builds into yourself.
Spiritual discipline.
Yeah. Exactly. And it comes from what I did. I'm just using that as a model, and applying it to my Christian direction, because it's similar. It's just like I did that with a kick, and now I can do it with a prayer. Like it's similar. And the glory of it is, looking back, God put me through that to teach me in a roundabout way how to continue with Christianity and really develop it.
The word that comes into my mind, and it's through the Bible, all over the Bible, especially through Paul's teachings, is the word endure. You've learned how to endure in Christ. That's Christ's command. Those who endure, in Paul's especially, endure. It's the one thing he always says, and that's something you've learned how to do.
Absolutely. And I relate to Paul all the time too, because he was complete opposite. And now, because he was complete opposite, that's the power that drove him in Christianity, to not go back to what he did. And he just did overwhelming stuff from that. It's an amazing story, but I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Yeah.
Well, this has been an amazing interview. We have to wrap it up. But Mitz, I just want to thank you so much. I mean, not only you've been such a great friend all these years, but I mean, just to hear your story is so encouraging. I mean, even to me, it's so encouraging, and I'm sure our listeners are going to find the same thing.
Well, thank you. It's a blessing to be able to share that, Ray. Thank you. And Glenn, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, guys. And we will see you next time on God Talk.